Hi guys, welcome back to Learn with W3Schools. My name is Dr. Zeeshan, and continuing from previous session, we're going to talk today about Java nested loop. Now, so in this Java for Beginners course using W3Schools website, we have been covered a lot of topics already. Last topic was for Java for loop. Today, continuing for Java nested loop, we will be talking more about how Java nested loop works. Okay, so if you're following along, fantastic. Do make sure you watch previous lessons so you can understand what's going on. If you're here first time, just landed on this video, don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell icon, because we are covering this entire course using W3Schools website as a reference. So without further ado, let's begin and understand how we use nested loops in Java and how the nested loops are behaving and what exactly we mean by that. Similar to if else and nested if else, where we had if else inside if else inside if else inside if else, loops also play a very keen role in this thing. So what this means is that we have loop inside a loop and how they work. Now this is where the fun starts. Okay, loop inside a loop are a very crucial part. So we have an outer loop, we call this an outer loop, and then we call this an inner loop. Okay, do keep this in mind that the key factor with the loops are that the loop need to repeat itself first. Second, once the loop condition becomes true, the block of code executes. As until this block of code completes its execution, this condition is not rechecked. So that means every time this condition becomes true, the entire block of code executes. Okay, once this execution completes, the control goes back to the increment is done, and the condition is evaluated. Also, before I go further, this nested loop structure is exactly same with the while loop and do while as well. Okay, the concept is same. You can have a while loop inside a while loop inside a while loop. You can have a do while inside a for loop, or you can have a while loop inside a for loop. So this is exactly mismatch. You can mix and match depending on exactly what you want to do, but the concept is exactly same. If you understand the loops, it just works exactly same manner. So we are using a for as an example of nested loops, but technically you can use while, you can use for, and then inside there can be while here. Okay, so just keep this aside. Now moving forward, so if you understand this basic phenomena that loops repeat itself, second, the block gets executed. Now what happens is if there's another loop inside it. Exactly. So if you've already guessed it, this works exactly in the same manner. It works is that the outer loop executes, or the one time when we start with this for loop, if I again very bravely put here end of outer for loop, and then let's just put this here inner for loop. Okay, let's just miss it out. So this is where our end of outer loop for ends. So this is one loop. So every time we execute the outer loop, the inner loop gets executed. But because the inner loop again or the body has again another loop inside it, this will complete its transaction before the control goes outside. Meaning, for integer I is equals to 1, so the value of I starts to 1, and then we have said, hey, I less than equal to 2. So I is less than and equal to 2, do I plus plus 1. So that means it's supposed to run 2 times technically. Then we come here, system.out.println outer plus I, so we print the value of outer I. Capish? Simply as that. So if I have removed this loop, so for example, if I write a comment here, okay, let me just show you exactly what I mean without the outer loop. So if I comment this loop out, and then I can say I only have the inner loop statement with me. If I run the exact statement, see, outer 1, outer 2, very simple to understand. Integer I is equals to 1. We start with the value of 1. We check whether I is less than 2. So means less than equal to 2. And if initially the value is 1, less than 2, condition becomes true. The outer loop gets executed. Then it does the increment. Now I becomes the value of 2. Again, it's supposed to be equal to 2. So condition becomes true. It prints the value again. So 2 times it gets executed. The third time, again, control goes back to the increment first. It becomes false, loop breaks out. Standard. What happens if we have another inner loop? Now this is where things get little interesting. Because we have a loop inside the looping statement. Now what's happening is that every time this loop executes, there's another loop inside it, and this needs to complete its operation before the control goes out. So for the first time when outer loop value is 1, okay, when the outer loop value was 1, the inner loop came and I said, hey, integer j is equals to 1, then agreed. J is less than 3, agreed. execute the statement J1. So J become inner loop executed one time. But because this is an inner loop, now the inner loop also needs to complete its execution before the control is transferred. So until this inner loop completes its transaction, its entire cycle, this outer loop will not be completed. So it goes back and executes this loop again. Hey, is the value less than, do the increment, now check the condition, becomes 2, less than 3, yes, it prints the value again. Do the increment, now becomes 3, less than equal to 3, yes, condition becomes 3, executed it again. So this loop now is repeating itself until this condition is satisfied. So this prints 3. Once this becomes 4 value, after 3, 4, condition becomes false. Now the control stops here and control comes back to this outer loop. Up till this point, the outer loop was only executed one time. I has only printed 1. Now the control from this point goes back to the I++. It adds 1 to the current value of I, it becomes 2. Once it becomes 2, condition again becomes true here. So since it is true now, it goes back and says system.out.print, print the value of outer loop 2. So it prints it again. But then here is the key thing to again remember. Because we are coming back here afresh, this loop again gets executed. Because this is being executed again as a new cycle, this integer j again becomes 1. This initialization will again be re-executed. This is the common mistake that sometimes students make, because we have already done it, the value of j has already changed, and this again is supposed to execute only one time. Now this loop will be false. Nope. This loop will again start fresh, because this is a complete new cycle now for the outer loop. Because this is a complete new cycle of an outer loop, the j again will get executed. It becomes 1 again. J is less than 3. This again becomes true. J value is printed. So now again inner loop starts from a fresh, prints value 1. Then again increment, check the condition, print the value 2. Do the increment, check the condition, print the value 3. Do the increment, check the value, condition false, end of loop. Do the increment, check the condition, this becomes 3, break out. So in this case, the outer loop only executed 2 times. Technically, the inner loop has already completed execution 6 times. 3 times for the first time, 3 times again. So if I change it back to now, for example, 4, if you would guess what happened now, the outer loop value I've changed it to 4. This means the outer loop gets executed 4 times. But for every time the outer loop executes, the inner loop will still execute 3 times. So if you run the code again, you would find that every time we execute the outer loop 1, the inner loop executes 3 times. The outer loop again gets executed, the inner loop starts afresh, this j value is reset, and again the condition is starting from fresh and 3 times executed. The outer loop again executes the 3rd time, the inner loop will again start afresh, j becomes 1, again this value is evaluated. Then the outer loop executes for the 4th time, again the inner loop restarts afresh, starts from the 1, it re-executes for the 1 time. See, so that's the basic logic of nested loop. So do keep this thing in mind, that every time we execute a loop, it re-executes and executes and executes and executes. Let's move on to then something called for each loop. Now, for each loop, also simply there's a loop which is exclusively looped through elements in an array. Okay, so we have not yet talked much detailed about the arrays yet. It's going to be almost the last topic of this basic course. We will talk about arrays a little bit later on, but this is used to loop around elements of an array. In a nutshell, arrays is like a container holding multiple values. Okay, so it's like a variable, but variable at each moment, each variable holds one value. This is what we have been talking about up this point. So if you declare integer x is equal to 15, means x is holding one value. At certain times, we need a container to hold multiple values, okay, of same type. So multiple integer types values, I want to hold it. So in that case, we have a container, and then now we want to read each value of that container, what type of value and which value are there. For that, we technically use a for. So what happens is we specify it as a type, variable, and a colon, and then the array name, block within the quotation, within the round brackets, block start, block close. So let's write, I see an example here. So what we're doing now is, we again public class main. Remember, we do this every single time. Then we have public static void main blocks start block close, and then we use a string arguments, so we specify that. Then we create a string variable type, and then we use a square brackets. Okay, these square brackets indicate that this is a container containing multiple values. In programming, we call it array. So we declare a variable name called cars, and then because there are multiple values, we use a block, inverted quotations, single value, comma, inverted quotations, second value, comma, inverted quotations becomes the third value, comma, fourth value, block closes, and then the semicolon. This is how we declare an array inside Java. Okay, as I said, more in deep about this and how the numbers are represented, index values and everything later on in index chapter. Then in order to now read all the elements of this array, we use for string I. Again, string I represents the element, each single element at a moment. This is not an array, and we give it an array called cars. Okay, so this basically means that go inside this array called cars, read the first element of that array, whatever is that first index, technically is a zero, that is at a zero index, and assign that value to this single variable integer. So once we need to read an element inside an arrays in a container, we need to take it out and assign it to a single variable, and only then we can process it, because in memory this is considered as an array. And if you want to read that array, means you are picking up one element, but where should that one element reside in memory? So in technically we need to again assign a new memory room memory allocation inside the memory. So for that we create another variable called string I, a single variable, and means that we want to allocate a space for this variable inside the memory. So we go inside the container, take one element out and assign it to this I variable, and then we print it out. Next, because this is a loop, it will automatically repeat itself. There's no condition here, there's no increment here. That's the beauty here. There's no conditional statement, no initialization. This can be considered as a blank declaration, and the first variable will be signed here, and then it will automatically loop itself. So it will go and see, is there any other element inside the cars? He said, yeah, we have a BMW variable. Take it up, assign it again to the same variable that previously hold Volvo. Now assign this new value called BMW, and then we printed that value. Then go back again inside the cars, take the next value, printed, and assign it to the variable I, and then we can do whatever we want here. Go inside the cars, take this value, assign it to the I, print it here. Now go back to the cars, find the next value and say, hey, hang on. There's no more next values. Oh, since there are no more next values, this condition automatically becomes false, loop exits. So this is not a conditional statement. It actually is like a combo statement. It has a conditional increment and to check whether there is a next element inside the loop block or not. Okay, so this is what we do for each loop, as it's known as. Okay, so for each loop basically does that thing for us. So it goes and reads each element automatically. It has the conditional statement automatically. It will execute exactly the amount of times there are elements inside our array. Okay, so learn more about the arrays if we talk in arrays example. Now let's go and do some example coding with Java. Okay, so this concludes our Java nested loops and for each loop session. I hope you understand now and have a clear concept of how we use loops, how we use nested loops, and how we use for each loop inside Java programming language. Again, W3Schools reference website is there. Just go through the notes, follow the examples, and hopefully practice as much as you can so you can grasp the more complex understanding of how things are working in terms of Java programming. This is Dr. Zeeshan signing off.